Good day, you are welcome to join us on the program Newsroom on Canal English. This day, the question of federalism resurfaces in the country today, and equally this week with the Cardinal Christian Cardinal Tumi indicating that federalism is the only solution that can resolve the Anglophone crisis. We shall be looking at that detailing in this edition of the program Newsroom. We shall equally look at what the team of lawyers in the southwest region of the country, in the town of Boya, that are investigating concerning the killings of some inmates at the Boya Central Prison during the mutiny that happened on the 23rd of July. In this very edition, we shall be talking about families that have been displaced in Babisi, that is in the northwest region of the country, due to flood. This is not the first time this is happening. In 2012, this happened, and the situation is still happening this year once again. I am Dominic Kimo. Stay with us for the next 90 minutes for the program Newsroom. Time for us to get our top stories this week, put together by Gladys Ambo.
Cameroon is in the heart of the rainy season, with accompanied devastating effects on the people and property. In Douala, inundations has befallen some quarters, with some people forced to transfer from their houses. The situation is worst off in Babisi, in the northwest region of Cameroon, where several families have been rendered homeless. This is not the first time the area is experiencing such a catastrophe. In this edition, Newsroom panelists examine the situation of floods in some parts of Cameroon. Christian Cardinal Tumi endorses federalism as a solution for the Anglophone crisis. This week in Douala, in a meeting organized by Honorable Jean-Jacques Ekindi to discuss the way out of the crisis, Cardinal Tumi stands for federalism but regrets the total assimilation of Anglophones by Francophones in Cameroon. The question of federalism resurfaces, this time coming from the main convener of the Anglophone General Conference. What can be the implications of such a declaration from Cardinal Tumi? 4 detainees died and 77 others were wounded in the course of a mutiny at Boya Central Prison last month. That is the result of an investigation carried out by a team of lawyers in Boya. The lawyers allege that over 80% of those wounded have not received proper medical attention. As concerned the 4 dead, just a corpse has been found. All this contradicts the outing of the Minister of Communication last month, saying no one died in Boya. This is Newsroom on Canal English, trusted for information flow and analysis.
Thank you so much, Gladys Ambo. Time for us to welcome our guest for this edition of the program Newsroom. We're welcoming His Royal Highness Fonyimo Oliver Sunday Nebio III. I guess I pronounced the name correctly. You are the founder of Babisi, that is a locality in the northwest region of the country, specifically in Gokitunja division. Thank you for coming, Your Royal Highness. Thank you. We're happy to receive you today. More, we'll be talking about the flood that have befallen your locality in the northwest region of the country with several families that have been displaced. But before we talk about that, let's find out from you. Recently, a caravan of traditional rulers in Cameroon are moving around preaching peace, telling people that war is not good. It's time for people to reconcile and live once again peacefully. What is your take in this particular caravan that is making a tour around the country?
Yeah, as the message that the preacher is about peace, I think it's something to be commended, because without peace, nothing is moving in any country. Without peace, there is no development. Without peace, people suffer from many social issues. So I think it's something to encourage, and especially as we've experienced in the past the effects of the crisis. Yeah. So I think
need to be encouraged. But the question many people are asking is traditional rulers. Most of them today have become politicians. Do you think the people will still have that respect to listen to them?
Yeah, they still have the respect, even though there are challenges with the mindset of the modern society. And the traditional ruler is a citizen, and sometimes they believe by doing politics. Well, first of all, I would like to say it's not all the traditional rulers who are doing politics.
Sure.
So it depends on the community. So and also on the individual. There are some traditional rulers who think by doing politics they may contribute positively to the development of their localities. There are some who think the community is divided into different political parties and it's better for them to be neutral. But I believe every traditional ruler, before making the choice of whether to do politics or not, they've analyzed what is best for their community before doing that. I don't expect there to be any issues based on the decision, the analysis.
Thank you so much. With time, we'll be talking about the flood in Babisi. Time for us to welcome Reverend AFRIK-CINEMA from Limbe in the southwest region of the country. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mame. Thank you very much.
Coming from the southwest, we understand in Limbe specifically, where 3 persons died as a result of consuming food believed to have been poisoned. 8 others are receiving medical attention at the Limbe General Hospital. What is the news down there as far as this death is concerned?
Yeah, I heard the news. Also, it was shocking. It was terrifying and frightening. Just a thing that have not happened for a very long while. And for the news that we got on the ground was that they ate fufu corn and vegetable, and some of them died in the process. Some of them was taken to rush to the hospital. But for our own findings, we see that there's a problem with the level of the family. That maybe someone is responsible for that. It's not the person of, because what I was told was that they use some of this chemical they use in plantains, they call it mocap, that to preserve corn. That maybe they use a corn that was affected with that type of chemical. That's why they affected in the way. But we realize that some person around the family might be involved, as we are getting news that one of the household said that he did it because he was angry. I don't know how true it was a story, but it's just a rumor. It's still the level of the rumor. We have not got the facts on the ground yet.
Yes, before we came in, information have been published on the social media by journalists indicating that one of the house help in the house, put poison in the food because she was called by members of that particular family. That is not the official version coming from the family. We shall bring to you further information as it's developing the town of Limbe, the southwest. But just to mention that the situation of 8 persons that equally ate the food is stable, given information given by the director of the Limbe District Hospital, General Hospital. Time for thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Meme Dominic. It's my pleasure marking present here. Just coming in from the southwest, that is Limbe and also Boya.
We are talking about Boya, where one of our colleagues, Wazizi Samuel, a journalist, a PG News journalist, based in the town of Boya in the southwest, was arrested, detained at the Munya police station. After that, he has been held now in a different location in Communicado for over 72 hours. What is your take on this? The fact that a journalist arrested and is held incommunicado in an unknown area?
Well, I have been in the southwest working on the story on the ground, and from the time he was remanded in custody at the Munya District Police Station, a handful of syndicates of National Syndicate of Journalists in Cameroon, that is the southwest branch, were equally present there, and they pleaded for the commissioner to release or to tell them what is the issue. Well, what I captured from the whole issue is that the commissioner said his hands are tied, the commissioner of Munya District Police Station, and that the issue is really, the problem is really at the level of the authorities who already know about it, but specifications were not yet given as clear-cut as such. And at the end of it, they say they accuse him for the fact that the camp of the Amba fighters is around where his farm is located. And so at the end of it, you see, we live in a kind of community whereby people just assume things and they conclude. And then they pretend that they are carrying out investigations when in their mind they have already concluded. And so at the end of it, well, they say he has links with Amba, because the question now is, how does he go to his farm when there's a camp around there and the Amba guys cannot harm him? Therefore, it means that he's part and parcel of them. You see the way the issue unfolds. Well, the same group of journalists where we went with them equally went to the assistant commander of the military out there in the southwest. And of course, they had made several moves and have not been able to trace him. And so the worry with the Southwest journalists, just like myself, when I was on the ground, was to find out whether, because I needed the officials to tell us whether Wazizi is alive or not. Because in the course of that findings, I got to another hold up that is so disturbing for the fact that we have another torturing department there. I don't want to go into that because it's very critical. But then when you get into that site controlled by the military, when you are suspected, your fate lies between them and God. And so it's another worry whereby you go around and when you go this one, they will send you to judicial police. Judicial police, they will send you to what they call Jemi, and then you go this. So they keep toasting you, and all they will tell you is that we cannot really tell, but we feel that you can go to this police station. So you discover there's a game which they play, and at the end of it, you seem not to understand what is happening. And I think they've been able to tell most of the people who are on the ground that the issue is more complex as they thought. And to the administration, they say it's not professional, and so journalists should back out that it's not professional as we think. But now the worry we have is that when we talk about remanding people in custody, it's always good to let the information out. The family members or even those who are coming to ensure or to seek for the release, if the person cannot be released, it's always good for the government in power to explain to you that, all right, this is his crime as of now, even though we are investigating. So when you come, one police station will give you one crime, you come, another one will tell you, no, the matter is complex, but he's not with us. So at the end of it, the issue is still complex, but what we know in the Southwest is that Wazizi is not surely kept where it could be good, because if it was under normal conditions, he should have been kept where maybe they could allow us journalists to see him and talk with him. But if you see somebody, we don't even know where he is, incommunicado. So the general fear we have in the Southwest is, if he's alive, under what tortured conditions can he be? And if he is dead, then we keep asking the authorities, just tell us if he's dead so we could see his body, and then
for now, no,
so it's very complex.
No statement have been given. I just talked to the lawyer that is monitoring the case, Barrister Lyonga Edward Ewule, indicating that he's still negotiating to know the whereabouts of Samuel Wazizi, a PG News journalist based in the town of Boya in the southwest region of the country, that have been detained now incommunicado for over 72 hours. Barrister John Henry Tita, thank you for coming, sir. Barrister John Henry Tita is one of the lawyers that is investigating the killings of persons at the Aboya Central Prison. The investigation is almost complete. He shall be telling us more in the course of this edition of the program Newsroom of what he have been able to find out about the number of deaths and the equally injured persons during the mutiny on the 23rd of July. But first, let's stay in this case of Samuel Wazizi. When somebody is accused of Ambassador boys having their camp in your farm, or you distributing information from the boys, which competent authority is supposed to handle this case now?
It's the State Council. If somebody is accused, a complaint has to be lodged against that person. When a complaint is lodged, maybe it can be directed either to the gendarmes or to the police, to any department for investigation. And then they will come out with a comprehensive investigation. I think that is the position of the law.
Okay. Yeah. So what's happening now is a little bit different from what you are explaining.
Yes. Yeah, it is different, because if the person has been kept incommunicado, it means might be investigations are not going on, or even if it's going on, it's not going the normal way that it's supposed to go. Because if investigations are going on, he is supposed to be seen. His lawyers, he's supposed to be granted access to his lawyers, his family members, and everybody. If he has to be kept incommunicado, it means some other thing else is boiling on the ground, which as of now we don't know.
We shall continue to monitor what is happening to Samuel Wazizi. Probably in the next edition of the program Newsroom, we shall be telling you more about the situation we must have discussed again with this lawyer, Barrister Lyonga Edward Ewule. Let's get what the newspapers have been writing about this week. Courtesy Morindi.
Lawyers demand the whereabouts of murdered inmates in the course of a mutiny in Boya. To the Post newspaper, a team of lawyers in Boya have investigated that 4 persons were killed with the use of live bullets on the 23rd of July, while 77 others were wounded. The paper says out of the 4 killed, 3 corpses remain missing, while 1 is at the Boya Regional Hospital mortuary. The paper equally writes how Mancho BBC was given a hilarious welcome back to Kondenge prison by other inmates. Mancho BBC and other inmates were detained at Set and GSO in Yaoundé after the July 22nd mutiny at the Kondenge Central Prison. We stay at the prison where Le Messager newspaper says Cameroon's former general manager of the National Telecommunications Regulatory Board has been detained in Kondenge. Jean-Louis Bemenge, after questioning on his work at the agency for 18 years, has been placed under pre-trial detention at Kondenge. In Adamawa region, Lady Sahel writes how 22 inmates escaped from the Menganga prison through a tiny hole. National Executive Committee meeting of the Social Democratic Front taking place in Douala, August 10. The Guardian Post newspaper questions why NEC meetings are taking place most often out of Bamenda. The paper wonders if the activities of the Amber Boys is scaring SDF from holding her monthly meeting at the Tarikong Palace of chairman of SDF in Bamenda. In this context, breaking news newspaper asks questions of if schools will start in the Anglophone regions of Cameroon. The paper says answers are blowing in the air. The east entrance into the city of Douala, a veritable nightmare to passengers this week. Informatek newspaper reflects on the decision of the SDO of Uri banning the circulation of trucks from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. Paper says others have blamed the traffic and the road rehabilitation works taking place at the east entrance. In how the Minister of Public Health received sexual health reproductive equipment worth 4 billion francs CFA in Douala this week. Belejour questions why women are always reluctant to breastfeed their babies for 6 months exclusively, despite calls from experts and UNICEF. Cameroon stays in health, seeing upon the completion of the Bachenga water project, Yaoundé and the greater part of the central region of Cameroon will have enough water. PM Diongute visiting the area this week said the project is worth 500 billion francs CFA. In sports, Le Jour presents the number of coaches Cameroon have been changing with questionable results at the level of the football team.
Thank you so much, Maureen D, for telling us what the newspapers have been writing about this week. In our first topic for today, we are talking about several families that have been rendered homeless in Babisi, the northwest region of the country, due to flood. This is not the first time this is happening. Several families have been left homeless. Babisi village is situated in Gokitunja division in the northwest of the country. The flood case happened on the 5th of August this year. 60 houses destroyed, 48 families said to have been displaced. They have nowhere to live. Several farmlands are equally swept away by the flood. We have the founder of Babisi here with us to tell us more about the condition of these people there. Thank you once again for coming on. Can you explain to us what actually happened on the 5th of August in your village?
Yeah, on the 5th of August, the Babisi founder, the Babisi community, there was a storm followed by heavy rain that resulted to floods, which caused destruction of houses, properties, and farmland. So many people were homeless. Fortunately, there was no fatality. We didn't record any cases of deaths. So the other families who were saved, they quickly provided accommodation for those who were in need, those who lost their houses. As for the causes of the floods,
the causes, because this is not the first time. Understand that in 2012 there was a similar incident. What can be the cause of this recurrent flood in Babisi?
Yeah, the major causes is natural there are two major causes, natural and human, mostly natural causes. You know, Babisi is located in the plains and just close to the highlands, Soland. So first of all, when it rains seriously, you have fast-moving water descending from the highlands, washing directly, moving directly into the rivers, streams, and the town of Babisi. So usually, if the drainage is not good, you have the water level building up and rising. That's the first cause. And then the second cause was we have two major rivers, the River Manda and the Mako, which usually overflow their banks, especially when it rains seriously, not only in Babisi, but from where the upstream where they get, where the sources of the rivers are located, which is still in the highlands. So,
those are the natural causes.
The natural causes, yeah. Apart from this, which is still very important to mention, is the fact that due to the Bamenjin Dam, you have the water levels in around Ngokuchinja division generally, and places like Babisi in particularly, is very high. So when you have rainwater, it's difficult. It doesn't sink into the ground easily because of the high water level. So it is when it rains heavily, it is easy for the for the water to start building levels and getting into houses, destroying properties.
We'll permit other panelists to comment on what needs to be done, but just tell us briefly, these families that have been, rendered homeless, what is their situation now as we speak?
The situation is deplorable because the disaster comes at a time when the crisis which our country is experiencing, the English-speaking regions, have had some devastating effect on the economic and social life in the community. People hardly went to the farm. Sometimes they spend 3 weeks without going to the markets, and the market is just once per week. That's where they sell their food crops to be able to get revenues for the livelihood of their families. And the worst thing is that because of the crisis, there's difficulty. The accessibility to the market is very difficult because traders have to brave different odds along the roads to be able to reach it. So not all traders are able to successfully come down. So the few who manage to get there, due to the fact that they spend a lot before getting there, they have to buy the farm crops at a very cheap price. So they have to sell more crops to be able to raise revenue to take care of their families. And the worst thing is that basic necessities like soap, oil, and other things that comes from town are very expensive. The prices have exploded because traders that bring it to sell in those war-stricken communities, they also need to raise the prices because they pass through all sorts of odds to be able to reach the market. So you see, it's very challenging. It was already very challenging for the people to live back there without the disaster, and the disaster has only increased the pain of the people. So it is very difficult for most of the families to recover now. The few families who are safe, who are still around because of elections, most of the people are internally displaced because of the crisis. So the few are there trying to provide comfort to those back home. We as a community too, at the level of various towns, we are mobilizing ourselves, contributing to
assist
exactly
the victims. We'll come back to you to find out what the elites are doing to assist the persons affected there. Okay. Christian, let me find out from you. One of the reasons they talk about this flood is the Bamenjin Dam. I guess I pronounced the word correctly. Is one of the dams that is when it overflows, when there is rainwater, it helps promote a flood in Babisi. What can be done in this particular case as a human factor of it to resolve to avoid the recurrent case of flood in Babisi village?
Eventually, I just want to comment on generally flood in Cameroon generally because if you look at other countries and the precautions of the countries they take so far as flood is concerned, we have engineers that they have responsibility to look at the topography of the environment, especially a place like Babisi that have a dam, and start to study the dam with time to see what can be done. If this drainage can be built, that if the dam overflows, it can go through the drainage and then empty himself somewhere where it will safely will not affect the population and the people, will be good. For example, let me just tell what is happening in Douala here. When you see what is happening, you see the drainage are too small. When you go to some developed countries, a whole Bonaberi, that road should be a tunnel inside under, where water drain itself inside, where you just find himself lavishing himself, leaving the town out of that drain into the sea without any people even knowing what's happening. But unfortunately for us here, we don't take just precaution. And I believe that when the dam is in the village, the government need to come in. It's not just the responsibility of the villagers. The government need to also come in and secure the lives of the people in that village by making sure that they give them adequate protection and to see that the dam is being protected in a way that it cannot overflow and then it affect the people, their crops, and their lives. And I believe that the government too also have to play a part. Where also the citizens also have to collaborate with the government to see that that dam is well protected to destroy them and their property.
Yeah, time for Elvis. We're talking about some sort of a natural disaster here. Is something that is pretty difficult for a human being to address. What do you think can be done in order to prevent this situation that is happening almost on a yearly basis in Babisi?
Well, the first thing I want to say is that it's a village I understand very well. I've been there several times, and I used to have a stop there to eat this insect that comes up from raffia. Very sweet and nice. And I used to stop there, I would eat until my mouth would be very oily. And it's a village that is always welcoming each time I go there for other events, be it at the council or at the palace. And so I think that we are saying here because the government sometimes want us to tell them what they need to do. And that's why we say that irresponsibility comes in, because when issues begin like that at a minimal level and you don't take action, imagine, because Babisi, we are talking about development coming up. When tomorrow Babisi becomes a city, the government will spend more to harness the situation than when it would have done it as of now. And so what we think is that we have engineers, those working at the disaster department at the territorial administration. We equally have those who are experts in the urban affairs and all the like, and they say they are competent. I repeat, they say they are competent. Because when you have those certificates and you cannot put it on the ground to assist the community, it means the certificate is a smooth screen. So at the end of it, I say that what the government needs to do, because Babisi is growing up, they need to go like where we have the water catchments up. They start covering the areas. You get the point. And when they are doing this, the government should empower the council, because we are talking about issues where councils can have partnership. When we work partnership with guys from Switzerland, from Germany, these things are clear. Unless maybe the councillors themselves and the officials too are sleeping. Because when you get officials from abroad, from Switzerland, from Denmark and all the like, you explain the topography to them. They could come in with assistants, they come with engineers who will do the study. Because the water from up the hills, be it from Banso or the other way from Baba, it could be directed carefully. And when it's done, it means that the waterways could be expanded. You get the point. It's a whole project that when you get partners from abroad, you have engineers without border that exist. And I don't know if the council is sleeping. Those are things they're supposed to do. If the state is sleeping, the council could take that move. If you get engineers without borders and you make a project, they could come in, they could open those doors, because when it is narrow, it becomes dangerous, because when the water volume becomes higher, it's forced to overflow. So if they open right down, it will go a long way. Now for the issue of the Bamenji Dam, is but normal that the state, I don't know why this government acts in a kangaroo system. I cannot understand. But I think that this is it happened 2012. It's happening now, and we don't know what might happen next. So it means that in a responsible government, the first thing that happened should have given them an indication that we need to come and redirect the Bamenji Dam, or we increase the walls of the river along the Bamenji Dam. So in the case of any overflow, the wall should block the excess volume of water from falling into the land and maybe going back into the pathway. And then at the end of it, we think that we have experts at the Ministry of Urban Affairs who always say that consume money for no work done. They are supposed to come in and partner with the council and now help now in the planification. Because when you have areas that suffer from flood, what can help to reduce the flood is planification of the town. Once the houses are planned, and then probably through the Ministry of Agriculture, you call the farmers so that they know where to farm, so they don't farm too close to the border of the streams. Because when you reduce the length of the stream, it means that each time the volume of water steps in, it becomes small to go through, and at the end of it, it's forced to overflow in banks. And when it overflows, it needs to move into the land, destroying crops and all the like. So these are things that we cannot blame the villagers, but the state and the competent authorities plus the councils have been sleeping. So we tell them, they get up, because now all of them will say it's in crisis now. If you go now to the government officials in Yaoundé, they'll say, "Attends, il faut que the crise en fini." But the question is, Avant que les crises anglophones commencent, what were they doing? So excuses they will always have.
That is a question in our research for this topic. This we equally discovered that in 2012 the government handed over some gift. Maybe the founder of BBC is going to confirm to us, worth 20 million francs CFA, and equally some 80 million francs CFA was used in order to do little arrangement to avoid a flood. You shall confirm that to us later. Let me find out from you, Barrister. Do you think there are some attitudes of the villagers that might be promoting this flood in BBC?
Yes, I think some attitude may actually be promoting such floods. For instance, as the last speaker said, if they are farming too close to the stream, I think if they are farming too close to the stream, and if at all might be, yes, if at all they are farming too close to the streams, it will be that they may not be able to when it is flooding, it may have to be sweeping the crops. Yes, I think that is what
some of the things they do that is not correct. Chief, let me find out. There are some attitudes you have been telling your subjects not to do to avoid this flood. Have they been respecting?
Yeah. Before I come to that answer, I would like to bring a small clarification about the Birmingham Dam. Actually, even though I mentioned Birmingham Dam as one of the indirect causes, the primary cause of the flood is not the Birmingham Dam overflowing its banks. It's because of the Birmingham Dam, the water level is generally high in the entire Ngokotunja division. But now with BBC being closer to the highlands, but just next to Banso in the hills, so we get more water than the other communities in the region. So when the water comes down, now if the water level was not high, we would expect some of the water to sink as they flow along. But because the water level is high, the flow until they get blocked and there's no drainage to keep them going, and they start building the level. And again, another precision is that Birmingham Dam is not actually located in Babsi, it's in a neighboring community, Bambalang, which is just next to Babsi. But we suffer from the same consequences.
Now, coming back to the activities of your subjects, some of those activities that promote the flood cases.
I think Mr. Tayong and Barrister mentioned some very pertinent cases like farming. Sometimes due to poor farming, sometimes it's possible for the crops or for the soil to be washed into some of these rivers that easily overflow their banks. So when the soil is washed inside, what happens? They become shallower. So when they become shallower, it's easier for them to overflow the banks. And apart from that, we also notice that sometimes due to famine, the natural drainage part of this water it's deviated, or maybe it's blocked by ridges and so on. So in the past, we had this another similar case disaster in 2012, but since then we didn't have any serious incident until now, because we implemented some actions that was being followed in the community, like respecting the natural drainage system. And apart from that, doing community work, not only to clean the drainage system, but to create additional drainage system, and also to try to empty silts from some of these rivers, because over time you have silts and sand that bear up into it, so you used to remove that. But with the crisis, of course, there's no community work. I'm not in the. It's not easy for me to even go to the village, so. Things cannot be coordinated as they used to be in the past when there was no crisis. Most of the people, the quarter heads, are not in the village. Some that are in the village are powerless, and you see, so the community work that used to be organized orderly is no more there. So it is some of this that contributed.
You just mentioned 2012 when there was another flood. We learned government assisted your community so well.
Yeah, exactly. So in 2012, the government, especially through the Ministry of Territorial Administration, by then quickly reacted, and they dispatched people who came to BBC with the minister delegate himself.
And it was you during.
Exactly, yeah. So they brought material aid, and they also brought a sum of money which was handled by the administration. So part of this money went to assist the people who suffered from
the victims.
Exactly, the victims of the floods. So about 50%. The other 50%. It's difficult to really account where it went to, because we were told there was supposed to be some work to provide permanent remedies to the situation. Some of the families affected by this flood were supposed to be relocated to a certain land, so the land was supposed to be prepared for relocation, but since then...
From what you are explaining, it means that the money was not used correctly for that purpose.
Well, I can't tell, except an audit is carried out.
No, not really trying to tell us, I mean, how it was spent, but practically on the field, the things that were supposed to be done with the money, you can't see that.
Well, yes, I can say I didn't see. Well, there was no. I didn't see any solutions that went in the line to provide a permanent remedy. Else we won't have been where we are today. And I think if enough good work was done, some of these families would have been where it was rumored that they would be reallocated to, and the area would have been prepared, but it didn't happen. So I believe there were some challenges or something happened along the line. So
Big Christian, is like errors committed in 2012 affecting us this year again in 2019 in Babisi.
Yeah, when such a thing happens, that sometimes people don't really focus or don't really take themselves, don't commit themselves to prove responsible to make sure that life is involved. That's one of the challenges that we have today, especially in our leadership. It's connected to also with the government, because they promise you that this is what we'll do, as what the fund is just saying. It means that the promise was made according to what I just perceived from him. He was not directly involved. People that were supposed to do it, they did not. Maybe the money was embezzled along the line. But one of the things that Cameroonians need to understand, and the leaders need to understand, that when life is involved, look, other nations, they work hard, they commit themselves, they have that passion to make sure they serve their people. And because of that, when such a thing happens, they bring the all, and to make sure that that situation is being taken care of, that next time we will not have such a situation again. And you see, when we have a situation whereby we are still complaining of certain things that happened, and effort was made to build a solution, and the solution was not adequate, to resolve the solution, the problem. Then we asked ourselves, where are we going to? Where are we going to?
It means the goodwill of the government to assist the population was not well implemented.
Yeah, that's why
perhaps by local officials
on the ground. And that's why we say when the government step in, he also has to supervise to make sure that the aid that he gave or whatsoever he gave for the project must be accomplished. If he doesn't supervise it, maybe the other person, okay, since you have given me and he's no more there tomorrow, whatever I do on the ground, nobody will come to check. But if they can't, goes down on the ground to check, it will go a long way to make people to be responsible and accountable for the responsible handed to them.
Time for Elvis, we are talking about flood, and Douala too is equally experiencing. There are several quarters where we are at the heart of the rainy season. Several quarters have been experiencing flood here. We are not beside the mountains. But what do you think are some of those human causes that is influencing flood in the city of Douala?
Well, in the city of Douala, the first thing is the haphazard constructions. That's, when you have a town or a village that is growing and you don't respect some construction norms in terms of town planification, obviously know that whether you like it or not, as a matter of time, you must experience those things. Because those who construct haphazardly automatically thwart the way or the drainage system that water would have passed through, direct to another area, which will not be very comfortable for the water. Now, another issue we find here is that, we live in a country where things are done haphazardly. There is no clear-cut vision in how the towns will look like in the years ahead. This is Babisi indicating. Now, a clear government, for example, will be able to know that if we could experience this, and we know that in a projection for the next 50 years, Babisi will become a city, it means we could take care of this, than allow people to build, later we come and start destroying, some maybe paying damages for others and not paying for others, which creates more problems in future. So we only prolong our problems because we fail to take proper action. In the case of Douala, you understand human factors like the waste disposal. Obviously, you have several situations whereby in the night people will get their garbages they throw in the gutters get blocked, and then we have a funny system in this country where people don't manage things well. I'll call you a country because when a government does not behave well, I disown you, but when you behave well, I take you. So they need to sit up. Now, when you look at the drainage system, for example, in Douala, you realize that we have this poor system of drainage management. Under normal condition where you have huge budget that they control, they are supposed to make periodic before the rains come. They employ people to work in the gutters, open up the gutters. You get the point?
I think those are some of the images of BBC being shown there on our screens.
Of course.
Where some houses were brought down.
Were completely brought down.
By the flood.
And if you look at the drainage system, you realize that it's a call for concern there. So, like what Reverend Bay said, it's a general phenomenon. There are some principles that if they are respected, you will not have flood both in Douala and also in Babisi. If you look at it critically, when you have council officials, I see them every day in the market collecting market tolls. Every day. Those who are carry out call box, selling plantains in the market, they are there giving you ticket 100 francs. When you calculate how much they collect per day, it gives you millions. Now the question is, what does it take for people who have the will of the people to get once in a while, before the season comes, you employ some youth, they open up all the gutters. Go to Ndokoti, for example, another roundabout, you see water, dirty water standing, which means the gutters are almost blocked. You get the point. In the Douala one here is the same thing. So Bonaberi, it's a Douala 4 is the same thing. You start asking yourself, do we have responsible local administrators? The answer is no, because when you unblock or you clean up the drainage system from time to time, even if the flood intends to come, it will not be as serious, because what water does that when water gets too much in a particular area, it finds its way. And once that area is saturated and it cannot find its way, it cannot find its normal channel, rather, it starts taking alternative channels. And the alternative channels will surely be any opening it finds in your compound. So these are things we need to do.
Don't you think, Barrister, the population too has a greater part of the blame? Why blocking the drainage system every day with dirt, where you know that perhaps the government is not always there to clean? People need to be responsible here.
Yes, that is true. People really need to be responsible. But what we should know is, what I should understand is that the council is supposed to be doing its work. This council is supposed to place at all corners which collecting vessels, cans, which people are supposed to be depositing them there all the time. Some people deposit it in the gutter not because they like it, but because they don't easily find where to deposit it. Yeah. And when they do so, the obvious reason is that the obvious consequence is that it must block the waterway, and if it blocks the waterway, the water must find alternative channels.
But we are running out of time for this particular topic. What message do you have for your people there that have been greatly affected with this particular flood?
Yeah, my heart goes to them. I'm just telling them to have courage and take it. We are doing everything to try to come to their aid, and I will believe by the grace of God everything will be okay. We'll help them, first of all, to provide their basic needs within the next few days by the grace of God. If we receive the help that we are searching for, we'll help some of them to rebuild their houses, and after that, one of the things I've been discussing with my elite is to have a general meeting by ourselves to brainstorm on some of the things we could do to prevent this issue once and for all. That is to provide permanent remedies. So I believe with the level of our community, we may have some resolutions which could be implemented by us, and some which we could seek for the help of some NGOs, and more especially channel to the government for actions for help.
Your community is hit there by natural disaster, coupled with the Anglophone crisis. When you look at these two hitting your community, will it be possible for schools to resume there in September?
It's a challenge. I like to be straightforward. I don't like to be a hypocrite to pretend. Yeah. We all like love school to resume. It affects our community, especially those who are in the village, those who cannot afford to send their children out of the community to school there. But at the same time, if you look at the ground, the reality on the ground, not only in Babisi, but other communities in around Babisi, in Goktunja division, you see that it's a challenge. But I know some elites have been doing a good job to preach the message of back to school. Many of us are involved into that. Different elites, not only of Babisi, of Babawan, Babungo, entire Goktunja division, even top politicians and top elites, civil society, people from the civil society, and many others. So I believe with that and some push to the government, and especially if the inclusive dialogue that we hear, that the Prime Minister mentioned, if it actually takes place before school resumption, I think we can have hope.
We can definitely have hope. We still have 3 weeks to the start of school for the 2019-2020 school year. We take a little break. We shall be right back. So much for stay with us. We take our second topic for this day. We are talking about recurrent cases of human rights violation and equally federalism that have been put on the table for discussion. This time around, the issue was raised by Christian Kadinatumi, indicating that federalism will be an answer to the Anglophone crisis. Speaking in the city of Douala this week during a meeting organized by Honorable Jean-Jacques Ekindi to discuss the way out of the Anglophone crisis. We'll talk about that just in a jiffy, but time for us to take you over to Boya in the southwest of the country, where a team of lawyers have been carrying out investigation to find out what actually happened on the 23rd of July this year during the mutiny at the Boya Central Prison. They have been investigating some issues. We shall get to one of them, Barrister Njong Henry Tita. Thank you so much for coming. Just explain to us what your team has been doing as far as investigating what happened at the Boya Prison.
Okay, first of all, I'm very happy to be here today to air out my own view concerning the investigation, all the findings we have met so far. When we learned of the rioting in Boya when we were in Yaoundé, I personally was in Yaoundé, and we were in Yaoundé working on the files of the inmates of Kondingi. That is when we learned of the mutiny or the riots in Boya. That was early last week. When I came back here, I met a long weekend. I couldn't do anything, but I started work only on. We started work only on Tuesday. The first thing we did on Tuesday is that we went to the prison, demanded access to be granted so that we should meet the inmates. Because before then, the rumors we heard were that some were saying that 7 people were killed, 10 were killed, some were saying 25, some were talking of 15. The rumors were just that which one cannot really bear. We thought it, but I could not say anything because I knew nothing about it. So on Tuesday, I went to prison with my team, demanded for access in order to meet them. I was refused. I was denied access. I repeatedly asked, I was refused access. So the whole of that Tuesday was wasted like that. On Wednesday, I decided now to lodge a complaint or a petition with the Attorney General of the Southwest region. Meanwhile, within that time, I was also doing personal findings. We were making personal findings to uncover exactly what took place there. The findings we met took us. Since we did not have direct access to the prison, we were just moving around, we were doing our own findings our own way. And we were so fortunate that some of the inmates who were removed and taken to the military court, we went to the military court, we met them there. We had the opportunity now to discuss with them. We saw them, I met them, I saw them. Some of them with bullet wounds in the military court. I discussed with them, gathered all information from them. So all what I am saying, all the facts I say, they have been gathered from them.
What are the facts? How many people died?
Okay, from the findings which we had, we discovered that 4 persons were actually killed. And then over 75 persons were wounded in the prison. And from the people we met, from the detainees we met at the military court, they told us that in prison there, the detainees who have been wounded, they are not well attended to. That some of them, their wounds are already smelling. If I thought they granted access to us, what we would have done as counsel was that maybe we could seize the prison authority, discuss with our clients, they may have their money, and then we can maybe negotiate for medication outside the prison to be attended to them. But they never granted access to us. That is where we had a hold up. But from our findings from the detainees, that is the information they gave us.
So as you speak now, you have not been able to have access into the Boya Central Prison. The information you gathered from some inmates that were taken to the military court. Why do you think you have been denied access into the prison?
The fact that we are being denied access to the prison is so suspicious to us. We are just thinking that maybe more horrible things are there, that they are afraid that if we move in, we will discover. Because it is a right. It is not a privilege they have to give us. It is a right which we have as council to enter the prison, discuss with our clients. If they start denying that right is not only the right of counsel, they are also denying the right of the detainees to meet with their counsel. So that's a flagrant violation of the right.
You talk about, I'll permit other panelists to react, but just tell you talk about 4 persons that died. What are the corpses?
Yes, from the findings we got from the detainees, they told us that one of the corpses was lying at the Boya mortuary. And then the other 3, they don't know where they are. But that they have concrete evidence that the other one is lying at the Boya mortuary. So that is the information we got from them. We also went to the regional hospital. We tried to meet with some of them, because out of the over 75 who were wounded, 5 were taken to the hospital.
For medical attention.
For medical attention, 5. Maybe it was because of the nature of their own injury, which was so serious. That would be the reason why they might have taken them to the hospital. But the others were abandoned inside the prison. Only the prison nurses were managing their wounds. And maybe some of them, they had their money, which they might be could apply for external doctors to attend to them. But since we didn't have access, that could not be done.
We'll come back to you, time for Elvis. The information given by Barrister John Henry Tita contradicts what the Minister of Communication mentioned after the mutiny at the Boya Central Prison. What do you read out of these fresh investigations that is made public by a team of lawyers in Boya?
Well, in the first place, I think that team of lawyers, as we say, and legal with their status, will not surely be deceiving us. For the fact that I've even been able to talk to some of the detainees, for the fact that I've been able to be on the ground, for the fact that I've been able to write to the Southwest Attorney General, shows that they have good faith to ensure that their job is carried out respectively. On the other hand, the state has refused to perform its responsibility. And that's why I said that when issues ensue of that nature, states are performed. And that's why I said I am very convinced that we are living in a military regime and not in a civilian rule. Because I will not understand why lawyers of detainees are not given access to see their detainees and talk with them at this point in time. I don't know how the state qualifies this. Another worry will be that anything the lawyers take now, they are forced to conclude on because they had the will to hear the story till the end and to see the environment where they could look at it, but it has not been that way. Another great worry I have, I think and sincerely that all the uniform officers need to go back to school, because when you follow the principles of combating riot, the principles are clear. If you are working with people who have arms, depending on the nature of the arms they have, you hold the similar arms or superior arms rather. If you are working with people who are armless, you cannot be using live bullets, for God's sake. It means that it is abnormal. Because if the military officials in Boya were serious enough, they could dispatch as many officers as possible, whose number will even outnumber that of the detainees, to come with batons. I mean, this stick, baton sticks, you understand, and come combat ready, without necessarily coming out with live bullets to come into the station. But the question is, must you shoot at people who don't have arms, don't have guns, and all the like sticks, cutlasses at random? It becomes a call for concern when we hear the number 7,500 and all the like. So I strongly think that while the lawyers are doing their job, the minister's communication, as we know, all governments, I repeat, all their ministers are government propagandists, which means, as per se, people will say the minister lied. Yes, but the minister did his job. Because his job is to cover the government in order not to give an information that will escalate issues against the government. So, Minister Emmanuel Enesadi is simply doing his job by saying nobody died. But we think that in a responsible government, a government should be able to acknowledge that we are sorry in the course of this confrontation, this number of persons that which could be normal. that you could be trying to quell down a riot and some casualties occur. But when you say nobody died, when there are evidence on the ground that somebody died, it means that you keep losing credibility. That is why if you look at even the issue of the child who was killed in Moyoka, where the government said it was this, and findings from you present here, from the ground, gave us something contrary. And so you look at it critically, you realize that when we move towards a responsible government that says it's democratic, you must not torture people out of the international conventions that you yourself are hitherto to, because that's where the problem comes.
Perhaps from the new investigation from the team of lawyers in Boya, the government might still want to investigate to find out what actually happened at the Boya prison. Bay Christian, how do you react to these findings from a team of lawyers in the town of Boya, finding out more of what actually took place at the Boya Central Prison?
I just want first of all to give a kudos to the lawyers, to take an initiative and which is their job. And I believe that if the lawyers do not stand up, more human rights violation will be carried out by the government and by the military, because that's what they have been doing. Because we have seen a case where somebody who was wounded was taken to the hospital, and they cleared that by state that is amber, and the military man just go there without any findings, just the guy under drips and take them away.
It's a Mutenge that we should be precise. People should know the truth.
He was shot.
Yes.
You see all this stuff of right violation. That is a very thing I talk about the government. When you are the government, you say that you are voted by the people to protect those same people that they voted you in power. And this type of issue is coming, and you are behaving this type of inhuman way. We see a government, we call it that's what we call a barbaric way of governing the people that have voted you in power. And it is something that the international body need to take these things seriously, because the government is not saying the truth. The government, first of all, let me tell you, the code of the government is give facts. They don't give you the truth. And those facts is what will protect them as the government. And the military people are conspiring with that facts. And that's why you see they don't classify information. Because normally what they need is classified information to declassify the information what have happened so far. But if you go there, even now we're talking that they will not give you that information. They cannot give you a document that is what happened, that they documented. They cannot do that. And it's wrong.
For now, we don't know who is giving the right and who is giving the wrong information. The lawyers have investigated. They are showing us what they have investigated. And government, the Minister of Communication, presented their own side of this story. But let me find out from you, this general incident happening like this. What do you think it should be done, given that there was a riot and there was confusion there? What's the best way government can clarify doubt to prevent other investigations to be carried out?
As you rightly mentioned, for now it's difficult to know who is saying the truth and who is not saying the truth. And from the lay person point of view, we want things to be done the right way. We want, if things are done the right way, of course we don't have crisis. Why do we usually have crisis? Is because either somebody, either the leaders or people from the civil society or somebody somewhere didn't do something the right way, and it starts like a drop of water and degenerate to maybe a bucket of water or an ocean. We are tired of the situation in Cameroon, crisis situation. It is very pathetic, and like Cameroonians, we want things to return to normalcy. And for things to return to normalcy, if we learn from the past, is doing things the right way. We want a situation, an environment where Cameroonians can live together like fellow citizens, and where there could be trust, we could see each other as brothers, where there could be that love as a society, as Cameroonians, where we could fight together for the development of our community, where we could make the country attractive for foreign investors to reduce unemployment and so on. And if things are not done the right way, by whosoever is concerned, then we will hardly get to that stage, which we, the Cameroonians, are greatly yearning for.
Thank you. And Barrister, do you have some maybe names of maybe persons who died? Those are some of the concrete things that might add some credibility to your research.
Yes, I have, but before coming to the issue of names, what I was saying was that if at all the government, the administration has granted access for us to really enter the prison, the findings we have might be we could have either confirm it or not. But the findings we already have, if you look at it, you discover that it contradicts so many other ones. It contradicts that of the minister, contradicts that of people who were talking of 7, that of people who were talking of 10, that of people who were talking of 25. our own findings. I have something here. Our own findings. The names we have names of 77 persons who were injured inside the prison, and then 4 cases were registered. And four death cases were registered. And then out of the 4 death, 1 case, that of Injia Gerard, we learn is lying at the mortuary, regional hospital mortuary, and 3 corpses missing. We don't know the whereabouts of those corpses. So that is the findings we have. We needed to have access to the prison, might be to confirm this or not, but the government refused. They refused that we should not have access to the prison. And if they should refuse, we are bound to be concluding that this is
we learned you wrote to the procuration, right, on this issue.
Yes. After the access to the prison was denied by the prison administration, we decided not to petition to the Attorney General of the region.
And there's no reply, surely?
No, he has replied.
Okay.
That petition was lodged in his office on Wednesday, this Wednesday that passed. On that Wednesday, we could not see him. Thursday, the whole day, around midday, we could not see him too. So we went back. Late in the evening, around 7, I personally received a call from him via his secretary that I should come and meet him on Friday by 10:30. By Friday yesterday, I was there with my team of lawyers to meet him. When we received that call, in short, I said, oh, the Attorney General has finally decided to answer us. So we're happy that we're going there to receive a favorable response. Might be to compare the prison administrator to give us access to enter the prison and do whatever thing we need to do. When we arrived there, the first thing we realized was that the representative of the bâtonnier had been summoned to.
In the bâtonnier in the southwest?
In the southwest. Okay. The representative of the bâtonnier of the southwest has been summoned to. When I talked with him, I realized that he is coming for that same meeting which the Attorney General has called me. Okay. In short, I started doubting that this thing may be some other thing else. Because I don't know how he has to summon the representative of the bâtonnier of the southwest.
Yeah.
Because he is not part of what we were doing.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, when it was time, when we indicated our interest that we were outside, they told him, he called me in. I went and sat. He also called the representative of the bâtonnier. He came in, and one other deputy attorney general who came in too. I realized he removed the petition I gave. He gave that lawyer, that representative of the bâtonnier to read. He read. After reading, and then the first thing he asked me was that, do you have the right to do any investigation at the prison? That all what you have said and done are all lies. He started bullying at me, threatening me. By the end of the day, he told me that he just wanted to be very frank to me, that if he hears or sees me around the prison, he's going to arrest me. So right now that we are talking, I've received threats from the Attorney General of the Southwest region. And he has placed a ban that I should not pass around the prison. I am a lawyer. We are lawyers representing some group of persons, our clients who are there in prison. And it is a right for us to move to prison within the time provided, talk with our clients in a peaceful manner. But now, the Attorney General has violated the law by restricting that I should not pass around the prison. By so doing, he is not only violating my own right as a lawyer, he's also violating the right of the detainees, who have the right to their counsel. Now I don't know where we are right now.
So now it's a difficult situation that you are explaining. You have been threatened, arrest if you continue. So what are you thinking to do? Will you back out?
Firstly, this threat that is being met on lawyers, this is not the first one. Last 2 weeks in Yaoundé, one of the lawyers we work with, Barrister Mungwa Tangi, he was actually beaten to unconsciousness by 2 elements of the gendarmerie. And after beating him, They threatened locking him up. But for the fact that he was unconscious, they look at it, maybe they felt that he may die. They then carried him to the hospital. For that one, we have lodged a complaint. The complaint is ongoing. We are going to say exactly what we are going to do. As a council, whom I know my rights, I know that of the detainees. I don't think some other person will come to threaten me to back out from doing what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
I have to continue doing what I'm supposed to do. Insofar I know that whatever thing I'm doing it within the ambit of the law. I have to continue. I can't back out because I've been threatened by the Attorney General.
Okay, Barrister John Henry Tita, what is the situation of the 5 that are receiving medical attention at the Buea Central Hospital, at the Buea Regional Hospital?
As we said, we have not also been able to talk with them. Okay. Yes, but that is the information we had, and that information is confirmed that really 5 were there. So we don't actually know the state of their health as of now. Yes, so that is the situation with them.
Time for Evis, you listen to Barrister speaking there, it gives the impression that getting lots of facts as far as the case is concerned is a little bit complicated for them working in Buea.
Well, you know, it's complex because the government makes it complex, you know, and that is why we have every reason to say that there are hidden hands behind the agenda. Because when you analyze issues, you will not understand why, because the attorney is also a man of law, you get the point. And all of these parameters of the rights of detainees and the right of a lawyer, he knows, even better than you, but than me, sitting here. So, it tells you that from every indication, as I said earlier, we are operating as if we are in a military system, which is not supposed to be the case. And that's why you see that we are in a situation whereby some persons within the state jeopardizes or keep jeopardizing the activities of the state. Because while the state will want to go one step, you will get some persons who want the state to go but 2 steps behind. And so that's why we say that we don't understand for any reason, but I think that Barrister is courageous because when you are threatened and you don't make people know, you never can tell what can befall you next. Yeah. Because we are living in a state of oblivion where I said in the crisis, you don't know what happens to you the next minute where you are. And so it is true. Some of us will be on ground zero from time to time, what they call ground zero, as they used to call. But you cannot be sure because if a man of law working within his right is given an ultimatum by a senior official of the law not to be seen around the prison area, this matter is serious. That's why I think that even those working on that should be able to take this particular case even to the Minister of Justice in Yaoundé, because if you don't go further, you might have yourself to be blamed in the minutes ahead. We'll
find out from Barrister if they are going to take that particular step. Barrister,
yes,
is that an option you think you might consider?
It's an option that can be considered, but right now we are digesting. It happened just yesterday. I've just informed the bar about the threat that meted on.
But the representative of the bar was there?
He was there. He heard it. He was with me.
What was his reaction? Maybe?
No, but he didn't feel okay. When they heard the Attorney General threatening, he didn't feel okay.
He didn't say anything?
Maybe. No, he tried to caution things, but the Attorney General, who was like the only person speaking, he spoke.
That's the boss at a point in time.
Yes.
And you know you're in his office too.
Yes.
So you have to...
All in all, what I'm saying is that if at all they had allowed us access the prison, maybe we could have come out now with a comprehensive report. The Attorney General told me, he asked me whether I have any right to access the prison or to talk to investigate. I am a lawyer. If whenever I hear that my clients who are in detention, they have any problem, whether health challenges, it is my right. It is a right of the detainees to call me. Or if I hear, I can move to them.
Yeah.
Ascertain the state of their health, I can liaise with their family members, maybe bring in now some external medical help.
Yeah, very important.
But this has not been done. And if we went in, maybe we have talked, discussed with more people to be able to confirm the findings.
And maybe counsel some who would have been violent.
Yes.
Maybe to calm down
yes.
as a peacemaker.
John Henry Tita denouncing human rights there. Have been denied access into the Buea Central Prison to carry out investigation after the mutiny on the 23rd of July. This is happening when there have been calls for federalism or the federal state to be implemented in Cameroon to trash out all these differences we are talking about. That meeting took place this week in the city of Douala, organized by the National Coordinator of Progressive Movement, Honorable Jean-Jacques Ekinde. The meeting was attended by Christian Kadinatumi, where he endorses federalism as the answer to the Anglophone crisis. Let me start with you, B. Christian. You are one of those who spoke in the course of that conference that took place in the city of Douala. What is the take-home message after that particular meeting organized by Jean-Jacques Ekinde?
Mr. Meme, in conclusive tone, what from the message that Kadinatumi spoke for what comes to speech, and from all the speeches there, I can just tell you that the Anglophone are under siege, they're under invasion. Because when we talk about conference, we are talking about to come and brainstorm and to be our solution. But what happened in that conference is that Jean-Jacques Ekinde himself, I realized that he already has there was an agenda that was already typed and there was already a processed agenda that they already have. So just people talking doesn't make sense, because after that the agenda was just removed and put on the table. They were talking about freelance. That's why you see after he spoke, that agenda Kadinatumi just left, even though he endorsed it. But from what Kadinatumi said, is just to tell us that the Anglophone are under siege, they're under invasion, spiritually, physically, mentally invasion. And that's why you see most of the administrators in Anglophone zone are francophones.
Now let's talk about what Barrister or Honorable Jean-Jacques Ekinde put on the table. You talk about federalism as the answer to the socio-political crisis we are going on today.
That's what I'm coming.
As a participant of that particular meeting, what is your take on what he's proposing today?
I just feel that proposal will not help the Anglophones, because the federalism issue, the federal proposal he's giving is not in the context of what the Anglophone want. If it at all Anglophone wants federalism, the federalism that was in 1961, that the Anglophone zones, they were as a people themselves that have a culture, they have the values, they have the integrity that they uphold, need to be maintained. So when you talk about 10-state federalism, it's not what the Englishmen, the blood of those thousands that have been split on the Anglophone zone was not for federalism, was not for that cause. Was not for that cause. We are not saying that the Anglophone died because they want to make Francophones to become better people. That's what I mean. For me, what he said, it was good for federalism, but the federalism should be that which brought the marriage together. That which Anglophone, they were together, they have the parliament, they have the senate, they have the culture, they have the head of chiefs, and they have their values that they want to maintain. That's what we want to see. If that, but that
is the federalism he's talking about.
He's talking about state federalism. He's talking about the federalism, the Anglophone as a federal state or as a federal state, and then the Francophones. He talk about 10 states, which means the North will be a state. Each of the region will be represented as a state, and from then it can still be hacked. The central government can still hack it with policies. So the Anglophone man, the Anglophone needs, if they want federalism, it should be the one that we have enjoyed or we had before we joined the Republic.
If you are talking about Anglophones, and one of those intellectuals in the Anglophone is Christian Kadinatumi, the only cardinal this country have had. Chief, the fact that Kadinatumi...
He said clearly, very clearly that when he went to France, the French people said that he's happy with the Francophone because they assimilated Anglophones. So it was a process. So when he said, he said that he was just trying to be, a good faith, a Cameroonian of good faith. You are so I'm saying to say now. But if you look at it in reality, if he was talking about federalism, he was not talking about the one that General Kingdom was proposing. He was talking about the federalism of 1961 before we joined the Republic.
He's talking about Kadinatumi proposal or endorse federalism. That is an intellectual. What is your take on such an endorsement coming from such an intellectual from the Anglophone Cameroon?
I believe, to me, different Cameroonians have different opinions, and it will be difficult to speak on behalf of the people and say what they want without sampling their opinions. Well, for me, talking about my community, talking about the other, so for me, it is good to provide what the people want by first of all going through that inclusive dialogue with representative of the people. who might be leaders of those people who might have already sampled the opinion of their community. So with that, you know what the community wants and what the general people want. But standing for federalism or standing from something else and so on, without talking on behalf of the people, without necessarily sampling the opinion of the people, I don't think that is correct.
You are saying the same thing that Christian Cardinal to me mentioned there when we asked him the question if Anglophones will accept federalism. He said it was left to the people to decide if to accept federalism. Barrister, when you listen to the Christian Cardinal to me endorsing federalism, and he is equally the main convener of the Anglophone General Conference, does it mean this is a stand of the AGC?
Well, I'm surprised to hear that when the meeting came up, or when they were there, the sole agenda or the first thing they put on the table was that of federalism without any discussion behind it. Even though personally, as we are here, I would not really like to talk deep into that issue. But what I would say is that if at all he's talking about federalism of 10 states, it can never meet the light of the day. It can never meet the light of the day. And I would not like to comment further.
No, maybe you tell us why it cannot be possible.
I think that one cannot be possible because if at all federalism that was in 1961, if at all that was a proposal, maybe some people could consider. But then when we're talking about the 10-state federalism, this is something which I don't think can be possible in Cameroon. Because any Anglophone, even if they want to identify themselves together, they would not like to be separated.
You share a similar opinion?
Well, from what Barrister said, you know, I strongly believe I buy the idea with him because with issues of federalism, it should move in relation with our historicity. And so when we're talking about two-state federation, for example, you have East and West Cameroon, because there are peculiarities. Those of the English expression, they have common cultural, historical background that differs from those in East Cameroon or in the French part of the country. And so all in all, I think that the meeting, from every indication, I was present in that meeting even, and I quite followed up. Of course, I was even sharing some part of what was transpiring there as a journalist covering the events live for that matter. And I think that the opinions people, just like what our Majesty said, everybody perceives it at his own angle. Now, the main thing is how far do we go, or what are some of the consultations that might have been done. Now, I could carry out a consultation that tells me two-state federation. Another person carries out his own consultation that tells him maybe four-state federation. You know, the northern regions, you group them, the east and then the center and this other part. It depends on how anybody carries it. But at the end of it, I think that the bottom line for me that concerns me is that the form of state now that we have can never work. And so the bottom line of all what is transpiring, whether A is looking at it at the 10th state or looking at two-state, or is that first my own culture should be preserved. And so I'm more concerned as an English-speaking Cameroonian from the southern part of it, southern Cameroon, to understand that whether we are climbing or we are going down, so long as my own interest is not taken into consideration, I will be watching most of those developments as per se. But I strongly think that when we hold some of these meetings, the main issue is that what is the government saying? Because the government is the master planner. If I tell you I want 60-state federation and the government is aloof, I'm wasting my time. If I tell you I need 10-state federation, the government is aloof, just like the government is keeping quiet on the Christian Cardinal AGC. So at the end of it, anything we do, we throw back to the government, because we are coming to a time where whether the government likes it or not, he must sit down and talk on the form of state. We are not asking the government, because how long will these killings go on? How long will the human rights abuses go on? How long will lawyers be threatened, or lawyers be given ban not to go around prison areas to look after to look on the well-being of their inmates? This is what I say, that we have turned this, people have turned this nation into a system whereby everybody now is commander in his own area, without doing what is supposed to be done.
Cameroonians need to agree on something to present the government.
Obviously, they need to agree. Then what we say, if they need to agree, the platform for the agreement is supposed to be put from various faces. Sometimes Kalatumi will do his own, Kini will do his own. So for me, I don't even want to go into the polemics of criticizing, you understand? What anybody has his reason why he's putting. But my point is, at the end of it, if it takes into consideration my historicity, Where is the part of the English-speaking Cameroonians? Is the intention to divide them, put northwest, southwest apart? What is the intention? That's what I will not be able to be a part of those things.
I see, Bay Christian, when you look at Cardinal Tumi proposing that, I know that is the frontline campaigner of the AGC. Is that the message we can think the Anglophone General Conference is putting on the table too?
Yeah, for what he said and for his stand, according to how he closed up his speech, I believe that maybe that is the same message that the Anglophone Conference is carrying, the message that he's also carrying. But you know, before you carry a message like that, you know, and let it be like a flag bearer to the people, you need to also sample the mind of the people. If the people have not, they are not d'accord with that, because we go on the ground, we are that on the ground, the devastating situation that people have passed through, they are so discouraged. So if you talk about federalism, it's like, okay, let me just take an example. I was somewhere and we were just gathering, I was talking, and then somebody just spoke along, said, oh, we're not talking about this friend. This guy is coming from where? The mindset of the people have started tuning from, because it's like everybody's, what Tayo just said, everybody's trying to present this is our own culture. Because our culture, you see, the Christians have made, they have great palaces, they have great shrines, and you know, holy, even churches in unprecedented manner, and which is not something that ought to be so. And because of that, people are asking themselves, where is our culture? Where is our own values? Where are they going to? So we allow it to go down the drain? And people are saying, no, it cannot. So no matter what they are doing, and no matter what the AGC state federalism, I believe that a referendum is good to give the parameter to decide the final battlefield to the Anglophones. I believe that the international community need to come and conduct a referendum on the ground. Let the Anglophones decide their fate.
Cardinal Tumi was speaking as Cardinal Tumi, not as the leader of the AGC. Yeah. Barrister, let me say, His Royal Highness, we're talking about this issue of the delay to give an authorization, or the delay to hold the Anglophone General Conference that is being championed by Christian Cardinal Tumi. What do you think is responsible for this long delay? We have a lot of dates put in place and sometimes postponed and changed.
Well, I can't really go deeply into, I can't really tell for sure exactly what is the cause of the delay, but I learned for the first occasion that was postponed, the authorization from the government wasn't given by then, and I believe there's no for the meeting to be in all the legality, they need the authorization. But since when the meeting was postponed to a later date, I can't really tell why there is delay.
Some people, there have been a lot of talk indicating that traditional rulers too, they have not been very supportive. All this while that this crisis have been going on, have we have Norwayful sat together to like take a common stand, comment on the Anglophone crisis that is devastated their communities? Yeah.
When the crisis just started, when it was still following the strike of the teachers and the lawyers, when we didn't have armed fighters in the bushes yet, when funds were still in their palaces. I believe funds at different levels, at divisional levels and the regional levels, wrote letters with the recommendations of what could be done to solve the issue. But now when the crisis went to a different stage, like went to violence, to the extent that even the palaces, the funds are desecrated, like
most of their funds are no longer in their palace.
So funds are threatened in their fundum, so for the safety, and not just for their safety, but the safety of their people. Some of them had to be like internally displaced in other parts of the country. It's difficult to have a come together as it used to be in the past, having a Norwayful meeting to brainstorm and to provide resolution. So
we hope that the gods are going to understand that the funds are in their policies. This we usually saw the letter from the Southwest Chiefs Conference writing and calling for back to school. You are coming from the Southwest. When you look at the situation, you see the call made by these traditional rulers for back to school in the Southwest. How practical can that be?
Yes, going back to school is what I think everybody wants. Our children are at home. I don't think there's any parent who really likes his child to be at home, who really wants his children to go to school. But the problem now is, how practical can this be on the ground? If you look at certain places like Ekona, Moyoka, those areas, good Manfe and so on, you realize that practically children cannot go to school because of insecurity. Either they are afraid of this group of people or the other group of people or whosoever. Practically the insecurity in those areas. There are only few places that school can go, like Limbe and some other parts of Tiko, Mutengen and Boya. Out of that,
Fako division.
Fako division. Out of that, I don't see many other area where school can only go because of insecurity. And that insecurity is coming from the presence of the military on the street, and at times with the presence of the separatist fighters, Amber fighters, who from time to time they enter the town to maybe provoke the military and then there's a shootout and so on. With that kind of atmosphere, I don't think school can really go to school. No parent would really like to send his children to school in such area. Because you can be away and your child is in school. You only come to hear that a stray bullet killed your child. You will not be happy.
Yeah, just talking about some few places there in Fako division where school can really start. Bay Christian, you are equally from that region, coming from there. Can we start in these places then? In the course of time, is things stabilizing? It can be extended to other places that for now are not very much secured.
Even those places that we are calling like this, it's still be insecure for people to send their school, because if you look at the situation on the ground, to me, as I'm sitting here, the government is making it too hard for things to move the way it ought to move. Because let me just give you one instance in the one in Kumba that happened in Kumba, where people were thinking about taking their children to school. People were, the atmosphere like people should go to school, and the geologists come up with the fact that the bikes the guys who come to give them 10,000 to go and stop ghost town, and another rioting and shooting and civilization starts. And we started the environment. People have started getting themselves together, started having their mind put together, and then you can't set in again. We don't know what will happen in the next 2 minutes in Boya. We don't know, because we have seen an exchange whereby the military people enter into a university, arrest children for no reason, and take them to the decision center. And if they can deny access to a lawyer, then and where are our children going to? It means your children are not even safe. They're not safe because they can pick their child there and get any motive, and you don't have nothing to say. After they can say that it's open amber, that's what the military are doing now. All what they're doing is just giving motive, and the government is not giving access for people to assess it and find a due investigation to find out what they're saying is true or false. And that's the problem that they have on the ground.
We are already running out of time. Just to mention that the traditional ruler of Tumbo, that is in the northwest of the country, was kidnapped. That was yesterday, Friday, as he went out with his subject to claim GHS and Tumbo. Ahead of school resumption was taken away. Before entering this studio, no information have been given out as far as his case is concerned. We shall keep monitoring that, and we shall inform you in other editions of News on Canal to English. A time for this. Briefly, before we go, we're running out of time. What do you look at the situation? Is it possible for schools to start at the maybe regional and the divisional headquarters? Sometimes some sub-divisional headquarters that are a little bit safe now in the northwest and southwest.
No, when you say to start at some regional and divisional headquarters, say, I think I prefer to be, whether is it possible for schools to start in the areas where school has been going? You understand? Just like you go to Boya, Upper Boya has school, Lower Boya does not have school. If you go to Limbe, Limbe will have, my four does not have. It could be in those areas, it's possible, but as I said earlier, the government is taking many things for granted. And so, instead of boasting, I think that the government should leave ego and get down for this issue to be solved, because now, if you hear a traditional ruler has been kidnapped, who simply went to clean the school, you don't know what can happen next to me and to you. So I think that at the long run, the government needs to pride low. The government needs to keep away ego and that arrogance and get things on board for if the government truly wants school to go. If not, I always call campaigners on back to school now weak campaigners. People who take we. Your because Highness, it's not very visible.
Your Highness, we are end of the program. You have the message to your community. Given the present situation of flood and the crisis, what last message do you have for them out there?
Yeah, I'm greeting everyone from Babisi and the well wishers of Babisi. I'm appealing to everyone to try to help those in distress back home, those who have been victims of the floods. So we need to rescue them in this, especially in the moment of the crisis that we know is affecting our regions and our founders.
Thank you so much for coming, Your Highness. Thank you. Time for Elvis. Thank you so much for being there.
Thank you.
Bay Christian, thanks for coming.
Thank you. And with all the clergy and everybody that are watching us. God bless you. Have a safe weekend, and may the Sunday tomorrow be glorious.
Thank you so much, Barrister John Henry Tita. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
We look forward to having you some other time to tell us more about your investigation.
I'll be well.
Thank you to everyone who watches us this day, most especially our technicians that made us to have a good program today. If you miss out anything, watch the rebroadcast of this very edition from 11:30 tomorrow Sunday, 11:30, and stay connected to more programs on Canal 2 English. I am Dominic Memengwa Kimo. Nice weekend.